All right, so this page is about complete, just like transparency and authenticity, right? When I started this page, I was like, there's not going to be anything in my drafts, nothing in my drafts. And I just like am following the divine kind of inspiration as it comes, right? Because I have many conversations with the universe, right? God, universe, spirit, source, Gus, okay? And so if things come within, come into my mind, it's like I hear like, okay, this is the passion, this is the inspiration, this is what I want you to create a video. So I'm having a conversation with Gus about purpose, right? And this is something that, I've had many conversations with the universe about. And so many of us, and again, when listening to people and listening to like any type of anything to do with like spirituality or self-help or any of that, manifesting, here's the thing. You're going to hear so many different things. And it's really up to you to discern to what feels right, what's a fit, what feels, what resonates with you. And here's the thing. If just because one person is saying one thing and another person is saying something different and it's not quite the same thing, and they're saying like, oh, I'm receiving, messages or these are my downloads from the divine, it doesn't mean that they're not truly messages from the divine. Because here's the thing. We are all on different timelines, and certain things are going to resonate for some and not for the other. Doesn't mean that it's not all a divine message. Let's just start there. Okay. So this is just a different perspective of what spirit shows me on purpose. And is that, many times we look at as for our purpose, people like wander through life and go, oh, I'm looking for my purpose. What is my purpose? Well, what is our purpose? And we look to the external for purpose. Well, maybe our purpose isn't external, it's internal. And maybe every single person's purpose is the same thing. And what's shown to me is that purpose is about finding authenticity through self-love. Unconditional self-love. So dig it. We have this awakening, and let's take spiritual out of, like, we talk about spiritual awakening. Let's take spiritual out of that and just call it an awakening, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with God or spirituality. Okay. It can for some. And I say this all the time, but an awakening really is up here and in here. It begins up here of this consciousness, this expansion of it's an evolution of consciousness, right? It's an evolution of how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world. And once we expand our consciousness, we're going to see things differently, and it's going to open up this heart space, right? And that's really what an awakening is. And so when we talk about finding authenticity through unconditional self-love, that's where we go in and we do the inner work, because that's how we open up, we open everything up. And it can look different for everyone. My path was through shadow work, right? I did shadow work and inner child healing and learned how to reparent myself. I also integrated learning how to regulate my nervous system, somatic work. I think that when we do the inner work, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through a coach, whether we go the route of doing shadow work and inner child healing, however you do, we are disconnected from our body, and we don't often also learn how to make the new memories within our body, right? And I feel like that's so important. But that's a whole nother thing. So it's going and doing this inner work. and really learning to love ourselves. And it's not about changing ourselves or fixing ourselves. It's really just about acknowledging and honoring everything about us. Everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And like, this is who I am. Now, we don't have to sit in it and be like an asshole and be like, well, fuck you, this is just who I am, and I'm just going to continue to be an asshole. No, that's not it. What it is looking, okay, what are our triggers? What are our limiting beliefs, right? What is it that I can forgive? What am I holding on to? What is my anger, my rage? My resentments, right? Where can I forgive others or forgive myself, right? And it's not about like, oh, I'm a horrible person and I need to change. No, it's shifting our perspective, right? And loving ourselves, because unconditional love is loving ourselves at every stage of our evolution with no judgment. Accepting, okay, well, that's where I was at that point. And you know what? I was doing the best with the knowledge that I had in that moment, right? And I love myself. And there's value in that part, that piece of my evolution. And so it's honoring everything. It's taking away that shame, right? And so that's truly what unconditional love is. And once we learn to do that for ourselves, because we are our own worst critics, right? Once we learn to truly love ourselves unconditionally and forgive ourselves, give ourselves grace, it gives us the ability to love others and respect, because we can respect the journey that we're on, right? We can honor our story, honor our past, our present, right? Have and look towards the future. So now we can honor other people and say, yeah, I can remember. I had a really hard time with that. I can relate to this person, and I honor them, and I, respect where they are on their journey and their current timeline with no judgment, because I've done that work, and I recognize that we are all working through our own thing. And so that is really purpose. Our purpose is to find, do that inner work and come into authenticity through self-love. Now, what we do with our authenticity, now that's external. That's external. Now we're like, okay, now I'm stepping into my mission. I'm stepping into my mission, into my dharma, right? And so what you do with your authenticity, that is your medicine that you offer to the world around you. So, we wander around like, oh, purpose. You know what? Our purpose is ourselves, and learning to love ourselves and finding authenticity through unconditional self-love. So just a different perspective, just a shift in perspective. So, I don't know what I was going to say. See, this would fuck me up, and I want to redo this video, but guess what? It's all about authenticity, darling, so I'm going to fucking leave it. How about that?